Hello and welcome to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Radhaa Nilia, and today we have a very special guest, Michelle Lopez. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about mindfulness for kids because I think a lot of people are realizing that kids could really benefit from understanding mindfulness, understanding energy, learning boundaries. And I would like to ask you about yourself and your work, with children.
Okay. Well, I'm an elementary school teacher. I teach second grade. And, a few years ago, about 4 years ago, I got this very strong inclination to create this program for mindfulness and social emotional learning. And what led me to that was my own healing journey. So, back in 2012, I went through some difficult times. And to help myself heal and recover from that time, I started doing yoga and, not just yoga movements, but, many aspects of yoga. And I found that it was a really helpful thing in overcoming some of the difficulties I was dealing with. So fast forward a few years later, I decided that it would be a good idea to start implementing these things in my own classroom. So I could definitely see a need for it, and I just felt like it was the thing that's missing. And so I just started sharing these things with my kids, and something told me that this is an area where I really needed to put my focus. And from the inception of this, I decided that this would be something I would eventually share one day with teachers. But in the meantime, I started implementing these practices in my classroom. So,
Wow.
The practices include mindfulness, yoga stretches, and social emotional learning. So.
Oh, that's brilliant. Social emotional learning. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So social emotional learning is just helping kids to develop different things that are going to help them cope with life stresses. So having emotional vocabulary, words to describe how they're feeling, feeling that the classroom is a safe place where they can express their what's going on inside them. When children feel safe, when they feel heard, when they're able to express their uniqueness, they're able to feel relaxed in the classroom, and then it's a better learning environment. They're able to actually focus on their learning. So it could be, and social emotional topics have a range. So they range from, things like setting healthy boundaries, self-love and compassion, friendships, practicing gratitude, appreciation, you name it. Anything along the lines of, the things that make us feel good, joy, being joyful, following your passion, shining your light. So.
Wow. I'm so in awe because, gosh, I wish you were my teacher when I was a kid. That's exactly the class I would have liked to take, I think a lot, because kids are very empathic. They're very, very sensitive.
Yes.
And they're very much in a theta brain state until they're about 7. So every single thing that they learn, everything positive and negative, gets installed into their being. And so if you can infuse some mindfulness and some sense of self-worth, and a lot of kids maybe don't get that at home because that's just not available, or the parents don't know about it. And so it's so important. Kids go to school every single day to have first of all a teacher that's really in tune with them, like actually cares and understands. I think teachers are the most influential people for children because they're with them all the time,
Yes.
So it's beautiful. And you teach second grade, correct?
Yes, I teach second grade.
That's amazing. And so are you creating like a curriculum or something like this, or what
Okay.
is? Mhm.
Yes. I created this program and I called it the Heart-Centered Classroom.
Mhm.
And basically, I modeled it after the four-chambered heart. So it has four main components that I believe is a foundational framework that can be built on. So
Mhm.
it's not meant to take over anything that's already existing as far as, behavior programs of that kind of
Mhm.
thing. It's just sort of this nice little add-on that will help everything else work better. So
Yes.
the four components are mindfulness, which is doing things with mindful intention,
Mm.
engaging the senses
Mhm.
to help increase more self-awareness.
Mhm.
And the second part of it is stillness practice, which is learning how to become still within the body. And sometimes we become still with an intention. It could be
Mm.
something like, a gratitude or joy, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and so that is sort of the fuel that makes everything else work. It's kind of
Wow.
like the things we teach them is the nuts and bolts,
Mhm.
but the actual stillness practice is sort of the fuel that helps grease the wheel, so to speak. Um,
Mm.
and then another part of it is creativity, uh,
Mhm.
because it is through our creative self-expression that we are able to maintain our own uniqueness and authenticity. So
Mhm.
just making that an emphasis in the classroom, opportunities to be creative, especially with all the technology that we're using now.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think is a really important part of just feeling good and feeling happy.
Mhm.
It's engaging both, well, we already have a lot of the left brain in the classroom.
Mhm.
We want to engage more of that right brain.
Mhm.
And the last part of it is cohesion practices. So
Mhm.
cohesion practices are things like doing restorative circles where we get together and we pass around like a talking piece. And the talking piece
Oh.
allows each student to have an opportunity to express themselves and kind of what's on their mind. So
Mhm.
there's a focusing question usually, and these circles are very powerful. So they're one of the most powerful practices we do. And then we share a vision for the class. So it's not just me as the teacher saying this is what we're going to do. And although there are times where that's my role, but
Mhm.
I really see the teacher as just being that support. But we're all sharing the vision together.
Mhm.
So yeah, so those are the basic four components. And then we do yoga. I'm a certified yoga instructor. Got that last year.
Mhm.
Uh, so
Congrats. What kind
we
of
do.
yoga do you do?
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
What kind of yoga?
Well, I do kids yoga. So
I
everything
love it.
in my personal
Mhm.
practice, I do a lot of vinyasa flow type
Mhm.
yoga, because that's really good for my particular constitution.
Mhm.
But the kids yoga, I kind of take a little bit of everything that I've learned and make it kid friendly. So
Wow.
so
And
give like the poses have kid friendly names and
oh, that's
so
amazing. I see this being so important. I feel like this is a curriculum you could really build and share out to different
yes,
communities and stuff. That is the future, because it's just a foundation. It's just about being still and breathing and being mindful. And
yeah,
I remember in school, like it'd be like time out, and like
yeah,
like time out, and there's a sense of shame around that. But being still with intentions,
yes,
it's a very different way of feeling and being. And these these teachings get infused in a positive way and can help them later in life when they just need to be still. If there's a problem, they can think about it. um,
hmm
it's really about problem solving,
hmm
rather than creating more of the
hmm
problems. We want
yes,
kids that are going to be innovative and creative, and we want kids to feel good about themselves, confident, because when they do, they're going to be a great contribution to society and to the all. We are creating the future right now. Children are the future.
Yes.
So your work is very important. I'm so inspired by what you're doing, and you're also an author. You have a book you're creating for kids, correct?
Yes, I've written a manuscript of a children's book, and this children's book is another extension of the work I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this book as being another foundation that can be built on as well. So the book is called Animal Magic, and basically, what it's about is animals coming in, and they have a teaching for the children,
Mm-hmm.
and they each have a yoga pose. So when the children do the yoga pose, they're integrating the lesson of that particular animal.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say if it's like hummingbird would be an animal that brings joy.
Aww.
Um, they do the pose, and it's a rhyming book. And but what I see this as being is a larger program of,
Mm-hmm.
of teachings that we can take from the natural world, from nature,
Mm-hmm.
which kids so readily resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of lessons to be found about how to work cooperatively in a group.
Yes.
Um, like you think about, how dolphins work together. They're
Mm-hmm. Yes.
harmonizing. They have a harmonizing, and they're playful, so they're having fun while they're doing their work. The wolf. I think about like the wolf, and sometimes the wolf is like a lone wolf. And
Mm-hmm.
there are times in our lives where we have to be alone, and we have to,
Yes.
during those times, we gain strength, and there's
Yes.
a resilience that we're building up when you are the lone wolf. So
Mm-hmm.
children need to understand that, that just because they're experiencing a difficulty at one period of time in their life doesn't mean that period of time is going to last forever. And
Mm.
so if they can look at this with more awareness, they can see that they can see it from another perspective.
Yeah.
And then life doesn't seem so difficult and so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
that's
so
kind of,
important. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And I love the concept of like creating certain foundations so that kids can use them later in life. Um, we are co-creating with the children now, and so, and I mean, a really great teacher would help children realize that it's like, if maybe they can't come from a home where there's abuse and they can't maybe talk about it or something like that. And
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, some of the children come to our schools, and they don't have, the stability or structure
Mhm.
or that guiding person at home that's really going to instill these things in them.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think the school has to take a little bit of responsibility. It's not all the school's responsibility,
Yeah.
but we have them so many hours a day. We need to
Mhm.
bring in the other piece, which is the heart. So I see
Mm.
this whole program as being the bridge between heart and mind. We already
Mhm.
have a lot of the left brain. This is bringing in more of
Mhm.
the right brain.
Yes,
So,
and
and
that's balance.
yes,
That's
balance.
bringing balance, equilibrium. And
Yes,
I'd like to talk about your background in healing too, because you're a healer. And
yes,
how did you get
yes.
into that?
Okay, I'm a Reiki master, a crystal healer. I have a holistic health advisor certification with an emphasis in Ayurveda. Uh,
Mm.
let's see what else. There's quite a few things. Did I miss something?
I love Ayurveda. I wanted to take like they have a course, but it's like it's 2 or 3 years or something like that. But basically, yeah, Ayurveda is amazing. I take a lot of Ayurvedic supplements and stuff
Yes.
like that, and I really love how it's about balancing. And I think what you just
Yeah.
talked about with the mindfulness is about balancing with
Uh-huh.
so much polarity on earth. And we're constantly being asked to rebalance from within, because we
Yeah.
cannot go and just change the world out there and change everyone's thoughts. We have to balance.
Mhm.
Subtle balances can make a very big difference, from nutrition to mindfulness to meditation practice to yoga. And every time we balance ourselves, we're anchoring in more balance into the world. So that's a contribution, right? That's
Yes.
about giving back by taking responsibility. So when we balance ourselves, we're anchoring that energy, because there's so much of this going on, chaos right now. And
Yeah.
the world seems to be polarizing, but really it's just, I think it's so much stuff coming up so that we have an opportunity to bring more balance and restore
Yes.
more. And so it starts with ourselves. And I think, and it starts with children too, because they are
Yeah.
the future.
Yes. Well, everything I've learned started because my own need for balance, like you're talking about. And, in 2012, things got very, very challenging. I went through just this massive, awakening. At the beginning of 2012, I felt very uplifted. I felt very positive, and I felt just something rising up within me that felt really, it felt really good. But it was kind of like the real me was coming out. And I kind of almost got to this point where, like, how am I going to let the world know who I am? Because I've been in a box, I've played a role, and I'm like, this is really challenging me. And then summer of 2012, things got really interesting. I started to have a lot of, awakening experiences. In the end of 2012, fast forward, fall, winter, I found myself at rock bottom. So I think I went from a very high place to a very low place. So there was a lot within me that had to be purified. It had to be shedding the old skin.
Yes, it's sloughing off the old. And that process can be a little painful, like when a snake goes through its shedding process, it has to go underneath a rock and hide, because the skin is so vulnerable. The new skin it needs a little bit of time to build its tolerance again. And I feel like we've been going through like a shedding process. I mean, I've been through so many. And I think it's so essential, though, to understand that we are going through a time where we're going to go through highs and lows. That's part of the process. Is every time we have a breakdown, I always say, okay, there's going to be a massive breakthrough. Like, what's around the corner? I know that when we're in it, it's like, I don't see any other way out. I don't know where this is going, but trusting, I think. And that's what I've learned through the process, is to have so much more trust. Because I used to get really upset when these breakdowns would happen, and I'd be like, and then I realized, you know what? It's amazing when you ride the wave out and you trust and you do the work you need to do, that only you can do.
Yes.
No one else can do it for you. I mean, you can get like guidance from a healer, and that's very important, things like that, assistance, but you're going to have to ride the whole wave,
At the end of the day, you're the one that's going to do the work.
Yeah.
So, this path of awakening is not for the faint of heart.
No.
It's not all love and light.
No, it's not. It's not always.
It's the dark night of the soul. There really is no way around that. But if at that, when I've had these dark side night of the soul experiences, the first one, I had no idea what was going on. So it was very difficult. Well, they're all difficult. And I'm getting to a point now where it's like, okay, this too shall pass. I know that there's a lesson here. And, I still continue to get surprised too.
Join the club of surprises. Cosmic surprises coming up.
Cosmic surprises, definitely. But, once you start putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, you start to realize, like, there's something bigger than me going on here. So I really need to pay attention. So that's why I started all these healing modalities. I started with the Reiki. I started looking at my astrology. And looking at my astrology, it helped me learn astrology, but it also helped me understand the cycles we go through, and that those planetary energies are working through your physical body. So I don't think people understand the planets, they look at them as being these outside entities, but the planetary energies are working through your physical body. Yes, they're part of your psyche.
They are.
So you look at them as aspects of your own mind, you know. It's much easier to understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, why you're going through. It's like you're objectifying your experience. You're able to look at it from that higher perspective.
That helps so much. And I love all the tools from healing to astrology. It all helps understand. Yeah, so you can take that step back and not, when you're going through something, we don't have to just be in it 100%. We can pull back, take a look, make some assessments, some adjustments, and then reconfigure, realign to the divine.
That's right.
So it's beautiful. And we're so honored to have you, at Radhaa Publishings and Awakening Starseeds as a co-author. And I was like, wow, you were like one of the first people to sign up, but I hadn't met you yet. So
yeah, I'm excited.
I'm so excited. I mean, you're filled with so much wisdom. May I ask, do you know what you think you might be writing about in this chapter?
Okay, I think I'm going to write about the earlier experience, the initial first awakening that I went through, because I was very much in the 3D world. I did everything that we do in 3D life, right? I went to school, I got married, I had kids, that kind of thing. And all the things we think we're supposed to aspire to, right? The house, the kids, and the husband, right? But I started to go through a period of time. It was about 2004. Where I started to kind of think beyond the physical world, and I started to seek out books that were metaphysical, that kind of thing. But I was just kind of, dabbling and searching and just kind of like expanding my awareness. And then I had this, and I don't want to give too much away because it's going to be the book. But I had this, what I could only call an activation, or like a Kundalini activation. And within literally like one day, all of a sudden, the lid's blown off, and I'm, perceiving all these other dimensions, which was a really quite traumatic. There was nothing externally in my life that seemed traumatic at all. It was all internal. It was all this whole internal process, going through like a purging. And it was on a very physical level. So yeah, that was a very difficult time for me to understand what was going on. At that time too, there wasn't, we had internet, but wasn't like it is now, where you can find so much information about things. I really had a time finding information. And there were no teachers around me to tell me what was going on with me. So it was challenging.
That is a challenge. It is sort of like figure it out. And I think that's where the first waivers come in, is like they're figuring it out. They're testing it out. They're figuring it out, and it's like in real time. But it can be very scary if you don't understand. I was lucky because my mother's a shaman, indigenous shaman, but she had told me about this time when I was a little girl. And she told me there's going to be a time where there's like a pole shift, and it's an energy shift. And she said, some people, it's like it's going to be an awakening, and some people are going to think that maybe they're going crazy, but they need to anchor into their light. And they need to meditate, and they need to ground. And meditation is really what's going to like save us to be more grounded into our body, into ourselves. And she told me that, like, and I remember that so much. And then of course I went on my own journey and took a hard left and tried to like get away from my own intuition and stuff. But then it really stuck with me, came back. So I did have somewhat of an understanding about it, but it didn't make it still was challenging. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter, because it kind of feels like your life is falling apart, and it's internal. Like you said,
very internal.
a lot of the values I had, the things I wanted, my goals, my everything was just shifting so fast that it was like, well, who am I now? Because I'm not interested in that anymore. I am interested in this, you know, the healing became really important to me, and all of these other things, and all the things that used to be like important to me were no longer. Like, it was like shedding an old self or two.
Yes, so true. I went through that too. That after this awakening experience, I kind of just, you know, just went back to my regular life as much as I possibly could. It took a few years to really integrate all that. I had no meditation practice. I had nobody telling me, like what your mother told you is so true. But then another wave came, and it was 2012. And so I totally relate to what you're saying about whatever you wanted before. All that changes when you go through an awakening. You know, I had this need to really pull away from, I guess we call it the matrix, pull away from the matrix. And I wanted to run away. I wanted to go, you know, live somewhere, you know, have beautiful, that had a lot of nature around me, and, you know, just kind of escape a little bit. But nothing in my life was supporting me in doing that. So I had too many responsibilities that have kept me where I am. And so I thought, well, I'm here. I'm just going to go a little bit deeper into this experience. And I feel like that has been a really good decision. So I think we just have to sort of bloom where we're planted.
Yes, it's so true. And I relate so much to what you're saying about the desire to be with nature. I think it's like once you start that awakening, you just crave the earth, Mother Earth, her energy to help ground you, you know, to help envelop you with that love. Because you're like, I can really relate to you more than anyone else right now, you know? And, but so no matter where you are, guys, if you're going through this process and maybe you're living in the inner city or living in the city, wherever you are, just go to a park, find grass, take your shoes off, ground your feet without any shoes, because the rubber on the soles prevents us from connecting to the electromagnetic field of the earth.
Yes.
So we need to ground our feet, or maybe go to the ocean and put your feet on the sand and let the water wash over, and that sort of cleanses and it recharges you. It just really helps. So the grounding process and meditation, I think, are two really important factors to get through this, you know?
Yeah.
So possible. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on and sharing your wisdom. I really love the work you're doing with kids, and I just think that is so noble and important, and especially to be so conscious about what you're doing, you know, that makes such a difference in the world. So thank you for everything that you do for the children, and also you're sharing your journey. And I'm so excited to read your chapter for Awakening Starseeds. I know you have so much to share, so I'll look forward to that. And you guys, I'll put her links below so you can connect with her. She's also an astrologer, Reiki, and I believe you do a few other modalities.
I do oracle cards too.
Ooh, okay. So she's so much fun. I love oracle cards. It's so much fun. So,
yeah, I love it. It's I have so much fun doing all this work.
It is fun. Once you start to do it, I mean, yeah, you just can't, like, I want to take like pranic healing now. Like, I love to learn, and once you start, you just cannot stop, because you see all the benefits that you get just by learning this stuff. And then it's just so much fun. It's like playing with energy. So anyhow, well, thank you, my dear, and have a beautiful day, guys. So much love.
I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye.